Denver's current system to shelter migrants coming from the southern border is not sustainable. The city admits as much. The last administration's plan to back up the Brinks truck for, ironically, an armored truck company, that didn't fly with other city leaders. So our Mark Salinger looks at some other possible approaches.
As the number of migrants arriving in Denver stays at an all-time high, the city still doesn't have a long-term plan for how to handle the stress it's putting on resources.
I've been really proud of how the city has already stepped up, but we're doing it super reactionary, very last minute.
More than 200 migrants are arriving every day recently from the southern border. It's gotten so hectic, City Council now holds emergency meetings on the topic. Denver even asked the state to call in the National Guard to help a couple of weeks ago. That request was denied, but the help is still needed. City Council President Jamie Torres says the city will begin interviewing potential vendors next week for contracts to outsource everything from food to shelter to medical services.
I am grateful that we're actually able to step back, assess this a little bit differently, and work with partners that we know and we trust.
If this sounds familiar, it's because we've already been down this road once this year. The first plan failed. Denver was set to sign a $40 million contract earlier this summer with an international security company called GardaWorld.
We were getting taken for a ride, I think, by GardaWorld. $40 million for what they were proposing was a huge price tag.
GardaWorld went on to sign a $29 million contract with the city of Chicago a couple months later to shelter around double the number of migrants for $11 million less than what they were charging Denver.
And I think it was also probably overreach in hope and anticipation that just one vendor could come in and solve the whole problem.
That hope is gone now. The city now knows one company can't handle everything. They're looking to hire several local nonprofits and community groups to run different parts of the operation.
Break up the work in both scale and depth, and so some of our local nonprofits, some of our local providers, or even statewide providers could potentially be vendors for a piece of that contract.
The city won't be ready to pick the vendors until at least the end of December. As we've been following this story, the biggest question is always, why are so many more migrants arriving right now? The answer the city is giving is that the state of Texas is sending buses from the southern border to Colorado, sometimes nearly a dozen every day. Denver says Texas isn't giving them any heads up on when those buses are coming, or Kyle, how many people might be on board.
And Mark, we've talked about this here before, but it can't be ignored. The overlap between the dual crises the city is facing between the number of folks coming here from the southern border who don't have a place to live, and then the people who have been in our community who don't have a place to live.
And now there is concern among city council members that these new rules that Denver has instituted that keep people in shelters for less amount of time is actually creating some people to be forced to go live on the street. There is concern amongst those city council members whether that is actually contributing to the homelessness problem.
Well, at the very least, this is part of the issue that they have control over. You know, it's not a federal rule. If they want to change that shelter rule, they can change that shelter rule, although they put it in place so they wouldn't get in trouble with the feds. Mark, thank you.